Call the meeting to order. Everybody is present. Mr. McFarland, Mr. Roberts, Ms. Steele, Lewis Lawrence. Absent is Vivian Alford. There is a quorum present. Is there any objections to the agenda as presented? Everybody all right with the agenda?
Yes.
No objection to be approved as presented. If there's any information anybody would like to share or anything? If not, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Someone will move if there's any corrections, additions, or approval as presented. Packet. Mr. Ben Roberts makes a motion to approve the minutes in a minute. I'd like to second it. Larry McFarland seconds it. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Approved unanimously. Okay, let's move on to information items. Discuss and make corrections on the budget template. In your packet, put a blank template in there. On the first page, I'd messed up and put delinquent taxes, penalty, and interest twice. So one of those was deleted. We went ahead and left the number there just in case we need to add something else back in. On the second page, we added under legal and professional under 60. We added QuickBooks. They're charging us $180 and somewhat cents every month for QuickBooks. I don't know why. We need to find out. Because when we originally got that, we didn't pay that every month.
And how much is it? How much is it?
$180 and somewhat cents.
It sounds like you used to could buy QuickBooks, and it's your QuickBooks, but now into it, and all those people want to sell it to you, they rent it to you.
Okay,
So
and maybe that we bought the original.
Yeah, but if you wanted to keep it updated,
Yeah.
they put a stop to that. They
Okay.
make you rent it.
All right, well, that may
Check
explain.
me out.
That may explain it.
I think Office 365 is the same way, except they charge you a fee every month, depending on what software you're using. And used to, they had where you could buy it just outright, a one-time buy, and then that was it. But they decided that they make more money to sell it.
That's what they're doing all of them.
Okay, that probably explains it. Okay, on the next page, under office expenses, I had postage down twice, so we deleted one of the postages. And then under 100 contracted services, I had NextLink Internet down twice, so we deleted that one. But we're also being charged for use of Proton email.
Are we still using that?
I use mine regularly. Holly uses hers. Jonathan has used his a little bit, but it's better than them using their personal emails for stuff.
Well, I know that, but what I'm wondering, we got the .gov stuff too. And in my opinion, there's no need to have multiple emails and different things. I mean, if you're using a Proton, that's fine, but, if
I think it's $280-something
They've
a
got
year.
.gov ones too, I mean, it's,
Well, the .gov ones are hosted by Procom. So you have to pay for a service to host your custom email, like domain. So even if you try to do it through like Google or something, they would charge you like some X amount of money. But I can research and see if there are other options that are cheaper than that, but as far as like custom emails, that's probably about as cheap as it's gonna get.
So what kind of bill do you get when you get your, you know, you have that web service that does the website? Can you get it through them?
It was
Can they
way
host
more.
your?
Yeah,
you know?
we checked on that, and they were way more expensive.
Okay, all right.
They use Google Workspace, which, you know, is good,
That's
but
fine.
it was a lot
But you're
more.
right.
how much difference in price was it?
It was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like, I wanna say $7 per user per month. So if each council member and the mayor and I each had one, it would be like around $7 for each of us each month.
So 5 and 6, if you 6, that would be, 7 of 6 is 42 a month, times 10 would be 400 something, so that would be higher.
Yeah, I guess whichever one you do, man, yeah, 'cause you have to pay somebody to host it.
On the last page, under 160, Community Services, under the Gholson Fest, they bought some supplies and stuff, bungee cords and some steel posts and stuff.
That was for the park sign.
The bungee cords were? Okay, well, it was in with, when I was looking for things, it was in with the Gholson Fest stuff. But I'm just, it was in those little sheets in there. Anyway, okay. Well, then I may need to move that back up under park, city park.
In fact, I think I also have the minutes in that folder too, highlighted where they said.
Yeah, there was some
$500
minutes in
for
there.
a sign in the park.
Well, I knew the 4 or 5 was for the park, yeah. But anyway, okay, so that may need to be moved back up under the park. Okay, and then down at the very bottom, we have room to write in, we added 170 U.S. Treasury Department for that refund of the CLEP, for the CLFRF funds. And so that'll probably be a one-time thing. I mean, still needs to be shown, because that was money that went out. and stuff. Anybody got any questions or any other thing they think might need to be done?
These last 3 columns, do we need those 3? Do we need to add year-to-date on that too? Or change one of them to year-to-date?
We could, that way they can keep up by monthly. You know, of course, they've got it on their financial report, but this would be easier for them to look at, I think, because it's broken out by categories. We could,
Someone would just have to put it in there.
yeah.
So what about these, do we need these, do you want to put previous budget on there to know how much you're dealing with? For the change and the percent change, we'll leave that on there?
That's up to y'all.
That's up to y'all. I mean, the only thing I see is would year-to-date be helpful in there? And do we need to?
Well, you know when you're getting close to
100%.
cent
Well, I know.
And you're gonna wanna know that so you don't go over in
Yeah.
something.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's kinda like the other night, they amended the budget, and I suggested to them that they put $1,000 or so in there, and they didn't, they just did enough to pay for the light bulbs and stuff. Well, now they're having to amend the thing again to do the septic tank, which means that they're gonna have to make another resolution, and then they're gonna have to file another amendment at the county office and stuff. So, that's their business, but I'm just saying, they need to put some money in there in case they've got some other maintenance, and not just put enough in there to cover what they're gonna do.
So columns are good, gonna think about adding year-to-date,
Yeah, we can, What,
I got that idea from the other budget. Anyway, that's what they did.
the one I did up showing the figures?
This one,
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think they did that,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, you know, if you look at that, I had columns for 24-25 budget, 24 year-to-date actual, and the percent of actual.
Yeah. But you can keep a running count of what you're doing, that's,
Okay,
y'all can discuss that and decide
all right.
what you wanna do.
We don't have to decide tonight, that's easy to do.
I tell you what, I've got something that I can bring with me next time and show you. It makes more sense, because you don't wanna get that thing to the point where people don't understand what's going on with it.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and I don't know if it'll help or do anything, but it might. I know what, you know, y'all are thinking is that way you can kind of see what's been budgeted, what's been used,
Yeah.
what is left, and whether or not you're getting to that 100% of everything in that budget category. And stuff, and I will bring it and let you look at it and see
Okay.
what y'all
All
wanna
right.
do. We still got time, so that's good.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's move on to the budget planning calendar, a timeline for proposed budget. And in the packet, when I originally did this, the first meeting we ever had, I put a calendar in there. But I was hoping Bucky'd be here tonight, because we need to have some input from them on stuff, but, I've got right now to start in May, and maybe some things need to be backed up. On our May 14th meeting, start working on figures and stuff. Now, we've got three different budgets that we can look at. Now, this year's is not complete, but we've got some figures to work with and stuff, and then you've got the two previous years that we can look at, so, but that would be like in May, at a regular meeting, if y'all so choose. And then, I don't know where you wanna get together, another one, our regular meeting's on the 11th of June, do another workshop there, or work finished up. Now, probably in July, we need to back up some things, because this is kind of squeezed together. And I had here on the 9th to finalize it and have a recommended budget, proposed tax rate to give to the city secretary. A meeting involving city council and budget committee to address any changes. But they may want to have a couple of meetings to address those. I don't know. So to do, we need to back up some of this. And again, without input from them, don't know what to do. I mean, I don't want to try to dictate to them what to do, but because the last day for the council to act on a recommended budget is the 23rd. They may want to do it at their regular meeting on the 16th. If they do, we're going to have to back everything up a week. Does that make sense? Okay? And then once they approve it, they file the budget with the city secretary, and then your 30-day count starts at that point in time. And you cannot have a budget hearing until 15 days have passed. So they'd have to wait, I had on here, last date, public budget hearing would be on the 30th of July. But if everything's backed up, then it would, you could put it on the, and stuff. And we also gotta keep in mind that West News is a weekly paper. So actually, the notices are gonna have to be put in the paper 2 weeks ahead of time. They can't put them in because the paper doesn't come out.
When does paper come out, Wednesday?
It comes out actually Thursday, it's a Thursday paper.
Okay.
It actually comes out on Wednesday, but it's a Thursday paper.
So
But what I'm saying is, you're gonna have to coordinate when those notices go in the paper and stuff. So, and if you miss a date, then it's like you're starting all over.
Start over then.
And stuff, so,
Well, my suggestion would be, since you have it on the workshop to discuss the budget template, these dates need to be discussed probably then to find out what they're going to do as far as meeting with us so that you can get all this out on time.
well, I talked to Bucky and I
Yeah.
talked to Holly about they need to come to the meeting so we can get some,
But they'll be in a meeting at the workshop. And
Yeah.
we'll probably
need to.
maybe take care of it there. We
Right.
need to, because it's gonna make late getting stuff in and it's not gonna get put in on time.
So what would be wrong with, these dates that you're critical about and you really aren't sure? Why don't you go ahead and back them up a week anyway? Give yourself a break.
Well,
You know,
I can,
Why put yourself in
Yeah.
that kind of stress and bind,
but,
depending on somebody else?
yeah, well,
Well, all this is gonna
these
depend
were, this was
on,
all tentative when I wrote
Yeah.
it down,
all of it's gonna depend on
what they do.
the council members and stuff and us are gonna have to work together to make this work.
Yeah.
And that's just,
So,
that's
I mean,
just how it's gonna have to be.
what I can do while we're sitting here right now, okay, so, have I guess, have you could have a recommended budget proposed to the city council on the 3rd of July. Of course, that's right before, or we could do it on the 2nd or 1st.
Well, it seems like you put a lot of thought into this right here,
Mm-hmm,
and if they follow that, everything's fine, right?
yeah,
Well, once we just propose that to them, before we, they can either say yes or no. I mean,
yeah,
is there-
but it's on a tight
Is there a
schedule.
way?
It's on a tight schedule, I'm
Okay,
telling
it's
you.
a tight schedule, can you make it not so tight?
Yeah, by moving it back. We can move it back 2 weeks if we need to. That just means we're gonna have to get our stuff taken care of.
No. So you're worried about us having our stuff done?
No,
Or is it
no, I'm not,
their
I'm
stuff
not. We'll,
done?
we'll have our stuff
Okay, well
done.
then,
I said, I'm not worried about us.
I'm just saying that,
So, I mean, we could basically have a budget ready to go on the 26th of June.
Well,
it'd probably be just as good the 26th of June as it would July the 3rd or the 10th. I mean, and it's not gonna be precise anyway, it's gonna be probably as good as it's gonna get, we'll just get it that way. But,
I
backing
mean,
up, if
they
they
may have to have some special meetings called workshops to take care of this.
Well,
We used to do that. When I was on the council, we had a workshop to take care of all this. We didn't try to take care of it in a regular meeting and stuff. We had called meetings to take care of this. Because if they've got some additions or subtractions they wanna make, we're gonna have to go back and do them.
and do 'em.
And so you're gonna have to have, they're gonna have to put some thought into this.
Yeah.
It can't fly by the seat of the pants.
But it sounds like they've gotta put more thought in it than we do.
Yeah, they do,
Okay, so,
That's what they got elected to do.
do, but I'm just trying to, but we could get the budget, okay. Have recommended budget presented on the 26th or 25th, somewhere in there,
Of June,
okay, and then,
is that of June?
huh?
What?
June, that'd be
month?
June the 26th. Or we can do it on the 25th, I mean, either one of those, dates.
Have it ready to
Okay.
go by then?
Yeah, and then on that week of July the 7th through the 8th, meet with the city council to see if they've got any changes that need to be made.
And that's in July?
That's in July. Okay, and then on that week of the meeting, I need to think about this, but
Well,
anyway,
if they have a special meeting, all four of them's gonna have to be there.
yeah,
It's not an option.
no. Well, no, they'll have a new council with them
Well, yeah, that's true, that's true,
after May 2nd.
that's true.
Should have a full council by then.
Hope so.
Now, they'll still have to have four, but, I mean, it's up for discussion.
Well, in order to meet the deadlines and they're gonna, that's gonna have to happen.
You just gotta keep in mind that you got, wait 15 days after we give the budget, after the council gives the budget to Sarah, it becomes officially filed, then the count starts. So you gotta wait 15 days has to pass before they can have a budget hearing. So then they've gotta decide when they're gonna have that budget hearing, and then she's gonna have to get the notice in the paper 2 weeks ahead of time about the hearing, because you gotta have a 10-day notice. Well, since it's a weekly paper, you gotta actually put it in 14 days ahead of time. The notice for the budget hearing has to be 10 days. And it has to be published in a paper. So, that's the reason for the 2-week deal, is because of the 10-day thing. Then, after the budget is filed, once it's given to her by the council, they've got to wait at least 30 days before they can set a tax rate. And again, you got to publish your notices and stuff about the hearings and stuff. So that's got to all be coordinated. And like I said, you miss a day.
okay, so if you miss a day, so there's a way to schedule it so you're not just so this, I'm hearing this, it takes 2 weeks to get it in the newspapers. Why don't you give yourself another week? So can you say, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It,
Well, that,
I've always found that you wait till the last
Well,
minute, something
well, it's not-
has to happen
well,
on one day, things
yeah.
go wrong.
okay, if we move this back to June the 26th,
Well,
that's 2 weeks. We've moved everything back 2 weeks.
okay,
Okay? So you could have the recommended budget ready on the 25th, 26th. Give it to them on the 5th through the 6th, that week there. Now, they don't have the regular meeting till the 16th, but they could have a special meeting and follow the budget, okay? And then on that Friday, say they did it on the 9th, on that Friday the 10th, she could put the notice, West News, so the notice would come out on the 16th, and then on the 30th, they could have their budget hearing. Okay? That's July the 30th. They could have their budget hearing.
Does that give her a little more slack?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's the way to do it.
They could have their budget hearing on the 30th, okay?
Mhm.
Now, let's say they do the budget on the 9th. Now, this is all supposition, okay? They do it on the 9th, then 30 days, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So on the week of the 10th through the 11th, they can actually set a tax rate, which is 2 weeks before September gets here.
Don't you also have to wait for the county to put out the, that's like.
Yeah,
certified
well, that's
values?
another thing. You will not have the official until the end of July. This is on the other problem. The reason this is all put down here where it was. They will not, the McLennan County Appraisal District will not have a certified rollout until towards the end of July. Now, I think to call the guy and see when they're gonna have it. But what happened last year was they went with they will give you a preliminary figure.
You're
But
not
those
supposed to
preliminary
list.
figures you don't use
Yep.
because they could go up or down. Last year it went up, usually it goes down. Last year that jumped up about $4,000 or $5,000. And you're not supposed to use preliminary figures when figuring this stuff. And they make a big thing across the sheet saying, do not use these preliminary figures. So that's one of the reasons all this was tied together in July.
Okay.
Okay, so, let me call him, and see when possibly we'll have the certified, because that's what you're gonna have to work off of. And I said, that's the reason all this was kind of, maybe we could back it up a week, maybe it'll back it up 1 week, you know. But that's,
I'm just,
okay.
All I'm saying is, if you can just pick some dates that don't get you fighting such a line, I understand that. So, that's all.
Yeah, I said, I agree with you. I mean, we need to have as much lead time, but there's things beyond our control
I know.
that we can't have.
Whatever's
Yeah,
in our control, just make it.
okay.
The one thing that we can control is getting everything that we need to do done on the budget. We have control of that.
Yeah, we got control of it.
So if we have it all ready to go between the 25th, 26th of June.
Okay. Any more questions or discussion on that? Let's move on to discuss and review data from 25-26 fiscal year invoices and receipts. Okay, I have filled out one of these budget sheets and stuff. Now, I took figures out of their budget, okay? As far as cash on hand, savings account, all that. And stuff. The ad valorem tax, I got off the county's summary sheets and stuff. That'd be good. Now, like on interest, it was not broken down into what each CD brought in. And stuff. And all that came from their figures off of their budget on the receipt. Okay, when you get over into the budget itself, those totals, budgeted amount, second line, second column, those are their numbers I used off their budget. Okay, that's that second column. All that came off of their budget they made out. Okay, now in the first column, I moved some things around. For instance, like the insurance. I listed what each one of those insurances was. That they only had the 7,600 and stuff. And then where it has year to date, like cybersecurity, they didn't have anything listed, but that insurance was $1,500. So that year to date is the actual came off of receipts, invoices and stuff. Now, these columns, the first column where I got the receipts and stuff, and that second column may not add up to the same amount of money in some cases. Okay? For instance, on city secretary payroll, they had 81,500 what they put in there. We budgeted 70,000 on salary, payroll taxes 7,000. Well, workman's comp, Texas unemployment, Social Security tax, Medicare tax doesn't add up to 7,000. Doesn't even come close to adding up to $7,000. So that we need, when we start looking at the budget, we're gonna have to look at some of this stuff and try to get the amount a little bit more correct. And stuff. And then like on the fees, see, they didn't have anything but the fees last year. But here's what the fees were so far. And on this bank credit card fees, the bank is charging it's called a XAA fee. And I question that because we had a agreement, contract with West Citizen State Bank, and they were not going to charge us any fees for things. And to me, since they bought that bank out, they ought to have to honor that. And they need to get a new depository contract, and that's one thing you need to look at when the banks start quoting stuff to see if they're going to waive fees on it. But that fee's running about $13 a month, give or take something and stuff. Okay, your legal and professional. And again, the QuickBooks is down there. So far, it's been $1,085 on the QuickBooks a month. That's at $180 a month. So, and I project it to be another same amount and stuff. Figured up they're charging $1,000 a month for accounting, bookkeeping. So I projected that there's 4 months there, $4,000. So there's another projected another $9,000. That's what that's all about. That's possibly what it's going to be at the end of the year. And stuff. And then the office supplies, I think, had budgeted what, 2,500. And best I can tell so far, they spent $209, $35 on copy paper, and I think you bought a $10 box. It wasn't in there yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I said
Yeah.
that'll be in this coming month's bill
Yeah.
and stuff. Office supplies, postage, and drinking water. And then, maintenance and repairs, see, they had nothing in there. And so they put, so far we spent, 840 on grounds, and I'm guessing they've been on culverts or, well, and that 29, okay. These figures in the first two columns, I pulled that culverts out of where they had it in this budget and put it under maintenance and repairs, where it should be. So that's the reason those figures are over there in that first column and that second column. And there's several, like the water, there was no utilities budgeted in that budget. But they had it over in a category called monthly expenses, so I pulled that out and put it under utilities, and that's the reason those figures are over here in those first two columns. That making sense? I haven't lost you, have I? And in the city cleanup, they had 15,000, but when I went through the receipts, I broke it down, the dumpsters, tar, and Eric Billings payment. So, and this next, the spring one, you're not gonna have a tar thing. Plus they've done away with a day. Tree removal, and then the copier lease and all that, I pulled from different places out of their budget and put it over here under contracted services and stuff. And then you got capital outlay, there was nothing, training was nothing, and then the budget committee wasn't even in existence. Interlocal agreement, that figure, that 25,000 came from theirs. Now they paid West EMS 18,000, and I don't guess they've given the fire department. I didn't see anything in there for the fire department yet.
I don't think this year.
Yeah. And then under City Park, they budgeted 50,000, and nothing's been spent there. And the Gholson Fest, they budgeted 7,500. That was what they had 3,000 for entertainment. They actually spent 1,900. Advertising didn't have anything, but they spent 90. Porta potties, they had 4,250. Best I can tell is for $200. And the cleanup, there wasn't anything but cleanup and stuff. Who'd they pay to clean that up? Do you know?
It was 200, I think it was, I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think it was Vernon.
Vernon?
Yeah.
Okay. Reynolds 250. They had budget, but and the insurance was 268, security 50, and 8. But they had a bungee thing. I think I missed that. Astro jump. Did they get something from Astro jump?
Yeah. I think.
But I didn't go back and look in those. But I don't think I saw anything for Astro jump. In this year's stuff. Now, it might have been in last year's, but not this year's stuff. Unless they got last year's stuff in with this year's stuff when I went through those things. Because all the stuff that they spent here was written down on sticky notes and little pieces of paper.
Yeah.
There wasn't no...
Astro jump was...
Y'all need to fix that for next year because you need receipts. Not.
They spend it for this year, Astro jump.
Astro jump, the date, it may have been last year's because this one has 9/2 on it. Which
Okay.
that would be, but she probably got it before. But anyways, the total was $475. It was $300 for a dunk tank, $150 for a castle jump, and $25 for a delivery fee.
Well, I just knew there wasn't anything in these receipts.
Like I said, that was before, so it could have been in August's folder.
She just gave us the numbers. right,
Yeah,
that you're looking for?
Yeah, what was the total on it
475,
for everything?
yes.
Okay. Anybody got any questions on this or anything, or any comments, or?
The only comment I have, and the Gholson Fest receipts that are in there, if you're writing receipts for payment of something or anything
Receiving.
like that,
Mhm.
you need to have an invoice book or something,
Like the,
a
for the
receipt. Yeah,
booths or
yeah,
whatever.
because, putting it on sticky notes is not a good idea. There's also a piece of paper in there with a bunch of junk scribbled on it and
Mhm.
amounts. You don't know what it was for, who the vendor is. I mean, you don't have any information on there.
Well, also in there, if you look at it, they show, they got, they showed $250 for boots, but there's only receipts in there for, 150. So, I
So
don't,
how much did we actually, was it 250 or 150?
It was the 250.
Okay.
I guess she just didn't write tickets out for the other ones. Basically, that's just what they gave me, but if they do another festival, then I can like make
That-
up some.
I would,
that's-
I
that
would,
stuff.
yeah, I would either, there needs to be, I mean, you can't do this. I mean, you just can't. I mean, you can, I guess, if you want sloppy.
Well, I mean, like I said, I didn't.
I know you
Yeah.
didn't, but I'm just saying that this type of stuff will get you in trouble, everybody in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
of having just a random piece of paper with a bunch of figures on it, and you don't know what it's for, who it was paid to, who charged this. I mean, you don't know anything. And I know it's not you that did this, but
So who did it?
I-
That's
that,
the one that, okay.
well, whoever was in
Alright.
charge of it.
All right, so for budgeting purposes, it seems like she knows what the number is, whether there's a receipt in here or not, so.
Well,
For
there's,
budgeting
I don't know
purposes-
where this particular invoice ended
Well,
up,
there
but
you
there's
go.
a copy of it right
That's
here.
probably the
for
most
that.
accurate thing we have before actually happened, right?
Yeah, so that's for Astrodump, and then I know there's one for the porta potties that was in there somewhere that I'd seen.
Yeah,
But all of that stuff that she's looking at right now, I think that's pretty much it for as far as what's
okay.
there, apart from maybe like some
Whoever
emails or
was in
something.
charge of it didn't do a very good job of bookkeeping, period.
But if they do another one, I'll be more,
And-
knowledgeable about things.
So irregardless of receipts, it seemed like you knew exactly how much the jump houses and everything were. So there you go, we can use,
Yeah, if they
But
go
you
here.
got more accurate than this, let's just go with your numbers.
Yeah, but how do you know without receipts whether or not that was,
Well,
how do you know that? I could give you a figure,
okay, all right,
and how do you
Well,
know that?
I'm looking at a,
Look what
an
she's looking
invoice
at.
I know
for
that, so you're looking at an invoice, so,
yeah, I mean,
I
what,
mean,
But for that stuff, she's right, there's not.
yeah.
well,
you
yeah,
got that.
but,
All
Looking
that
at-
that she has needs to be in these folders.
right, so what's the accurate number? Well, what's our best guess, because that's what it is, since we don't have
Yeah.
a actual number.
You're gonna
What's our
have-
best guess between all of this stuff of how much they spent?
He's probably got it total. I have one, well, I think on the other computer.
Well, let me ask you this, because these folders have receipts in them. What you're looking at has receipts.
Mhm.
With what you're looking at, there's no, if that's not in these,
Well, I think this ended up in the prior year, so.
it's in a prior year.
Yeah, that was
Because it's
20,
right
that
on
was
the line.
20,
Okay, it's a prior year then, it's not for this past year.
Well, it's for that fest, but like I said, this one's dated September, the year starts over in October.
When did they have the September Fest?
It was in September.
September. So it should be
So
in
unless they
last
were-
year's stuff.
Yeah.
Because your fiscal year doesn't end till September 30th.
I think I think when they brought in some of that stuff, it was like later on.
See, one of the problems run into, Larry, in those receipts, and I took and filed them where they're supposed to go. There's receipts in there that were paid in October, but when the auditor does the audit, it goes back because it happened in September. That makes sense? It's kinda like your sales tax. They're a month behind and you get your sales tax. So when you get your sales tax in October, that's actually your prior fiscal year's sales tax. And so it should roll back into that. It's always a month in arrears.
Yeah, well,
To keep things where you,
yeah, that's not what I'm,
yeah, but I'm just saying.
uh,
Now,
you know, I guess my deal is you have receipts for something, but somehow it got paid either by check or something. So that should be the definite thing of what got spent is the check or the thing that, there was a,
stub in there,
huh?
wasn't no stub in there.
You have income.
The only stubs I've got on the September Fest is the 3 checks, 4 check, 5 check stubs.
Okay,
For the 4 guys that did the entertainment and for the security.
okay. So these other things, how did they get paid?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Somebody put it on a credit card or,
Don't know.
okay.
But if it was put on the credit card, it
This
should be
right here-
reconciled out.
Well, there you go,
This right
right.
here is some of what you've got.
I
This
see
is what's
that.
in there,
But
okay?
I see that piece of paper, but somehow somebody had to pay that somehow.
Yeah, I know.
Unless they walk around with cash,
I
it's
don't
gotta show
know.
up in a,
Well,
you
that's
can't
a bad
just
idea to pay
burn
cash.
checks and things like that.
No, you can't.
So,
And there's some receipts there.
Mhm.
This here is for how much they paid the people in the bands. You've got one
Yeah.
for 3, 6,
Okay, good.
200, 800, 450.
That was the 4 entertainers and
So-
the security guy.
And that's all that's in there.
seems like we're talking about two different things here, kind of. We're
No,
trying to
it's
come up
one
with a number.
thing, it's one thing,
Yeah.
but the problem is you don't have everything that was spent in
We
here.
gotta make our best guess for how much we're gonna budget for next year.
Yeah.
And this is
It'll
all-
be a shot in the
And
dark.
this is all we have.
Yeah.
This is all we have.
Yeah.
I said it'll be in
that's
a
it.
shot in the dark.
So, make our best guess for whatever this is, and hopefully if
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah,
is supposed to do it right, they will, or somebody needs to talk to them, or they have to do training or something. But,
Well,
we're just trying to come up with a
I know
number,
it.
right?
They don't realize what peril they're putting themselves in place with
Well,
not having good record
I
keeping.
know.
I
That's
mean,
them.
that's neither here, that's
Right.
them. I'm not saying anything other than that.
Yeah.
You put yourself in peril,
Right. Well,
okay? Okay, now, one thing about, income. Probably that number on delinquent, and I went back and pulled the last 2 audits. Because I called the auditor today and to find out what he was doing with, for instance, when people pay their taxes after January the 31st, they're charged delinquent penalty and interest. And so I called him today to find out what he was doing to that penalty and interest, if it was going under penalty and interest, or if he's counting it in just with regular tax money. But he told me he was putting it in penalty and interest, but when I went back and looked at the audits for the last 2 years, there's no penalty and interest column in their audit. So undoubtedly, he's putting all that money into taxes, about present day taxes. So these numbers may change when I get, because I've got the people that paid taxes since February, March, April, and May, and they've been charged penalty and interest on it. and stuff, so that number in this may change. And if it does, the amount of taxes will go down and the penalty and interest go up. It'll be a wash out, but just get it where it belongs. And this here sheet, I put that in there. This is what I get every month from the county. And right here, 2025, under penalty and interest, it shows somebody had to pay $183. They had $183.37 worth of penalty and interest. And I think he's putting that in with the regular taxes. And the reason I'm saying that is because the payment amount was $13,799 over here. But in your bookkeeping, it ought to be broke out, and that 183 ought to go in with the rest of the penalty and interest for the other years. Like for delinquent taxes for 24 through 2016 was 3708. But the delinquent for 25 was 183, so that adds up to 220.45. So those numbers may change. And then the rest of this back here is where I went in and listed. When I went through these receipts, I wrote everything down. And under the first one up here, Hillco franchise 9525. That was in the 25, 26 stuff. That should be in the 24, 25. That was money that was in last year's income. So that should have been put in those folders with 24, 25 stuff. And there's several of them in here as you go through them. But I wrote down what each thing was, and that's what that's all about. And I had a question mark here on copy checks, and the reason I've got it there, the bank statement shows $107.94, the invoice showed $89.99, so I'm guessing that there must have been some postage or handling on ordering those checks. What was actually taken out of the bank was $107.94. Same thing with your interest up here on textbook. That should have been in 24, 25. That $1,270.94. And sir, do you know what the new bill is going to be from that new provider on the telephone?
Like about $40 a month.
Approximately 40.
Yeah. It's like 40 and some change.
Well, there wasn't a bill in there because you hadn't got one this month. It's the reason I was asking.
Yeah, it's about $40.
And the insurance, the reason the difference in the bill and the insurance is if they pay it all at one time, they get a discount. So like it was $7.50 and stuff. So what's on that invoice may be a little bit different from what the check is. Because they give if you pay it all at one time, rather than about a month or anyway, that's all everything I found in there is written down on this page.
Sarah, can I ask you one question? I noticed on the Smart Buy paperwork, had the authorized signers been changed on there? And the reason I'm asking is because I'm sitting here looking at this and it still has Molly McGraw and Eddie Oliver on there.
good question.
And I was trying to look for a date on the paperwork from the comptroller, and the only thing it says is your Texas Smart Guide membership is active and extended till 3/7/2027,
I think they do need to be updated.
because that, neither one of them are here. And it's got on here, if your agent of record contact person changed, please visit the comptroller website, and it gives it to you where you can get that changed.
I'll get that.
And so I'm gonna leave that kind of out so that,
Sarah, on that cleanup on the, they don't have a invoice or something, or who that is paid to?
Which cleanup?
The cleanup on the Gholson
Oh,
Fest.
for the 200 for the Gholson Fest?
Yeah,
It was on that piece of paper.
there's $200 on there, but I don't think I saw anybody's name.
Yeah, that's, kind of goes back to the bad, slip that I was doing.
And over on where the ACHs are, I've listed out what all has been paid automatically for. So where, towards, it's under, where the Intuit payroll thing is. I missed that. I've got it right here. Aspen Jump 475. Portable Solutions is 200. Missed it. Okay. Any other thing, anybody got any questions on that? No, we'll move on to discuss process for arriving at budget amounts for each one object and sub-object. Like I said, we've got 3 years worth of budgets here, and I guess we'll have to go back and look at, what I plan on doing is, after this meeting next week, I'll come up here one day and go through that monthly folder and move all those figures over into so I have a running total of what's spent year to date. So that when we get down and start making the budget, we'll have a little bit better idea.
That would be,
Okay. But I said, I'll come up.
yeah, whatever they said they planned on spending, really pulled out of what they spent anyway. So it's not for, you know, it's like you said, the more of what was spent for the last year, probably what we're gonna go from. So a lot of that stuff, and, you know, just at least the recurring stuff, phone bills, things like that. It's gonna be pretty covered,
Yeah. There'll just be a few things that's,
and electric, you know, it's gonna be about the same. Put it this way, that would be the easiest ones, and then once you get the easiest ones done, see what's left. Or either start from the very first, and just go line by line and start going through that.
well, we probably need to take, like you said, take the ones that we know that are gonna be monthly. Get that taken care of. And then we can try to figure,
See what's left.
see what's left and figure, you know, and there may be some areas where they really over budgeted too much. I mean,
Could be,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like I said, who cares what they budgeted?
Well.
These categories, if we can come up with how much was actually spent,
well,
you know.
your budget, you know, Larry, also determines kind of what your proposed tax rate's gonna be too,
you know,
okay? So you don't wanna blow that thing way out of proportion and say, hey, we need $1.50 tax rate to cover the budget.
I don't think we're adding stuff. more than what-
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just using that as an example. So you need to try to be pretty accurate in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be on the money, I know that.
No, you're
Never,
not.
never, and you may be under or over. I mean, you're never gonna get it down to where you're right on the button with it. But you try to get it as close as you can. And stuff. Okay. Discuss the date of next regular budget committee meeting. Y'all wanna meet again on May the,
The 14th.
May 14th, and we'll start working on the budget.
So put numbers in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can probably come up with the, like I said, the monthly bill things.
Yeah.
That'll be the easiest part of it. We'll have we'll kind of know what the, counting thing, we know what the attorneys is gonna be.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
All
Yeah.
of that money can be encumbered, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
I mean, if you encumber what you know you're gonna spend.
yeah,
Then that's automatically taken out of the budget at first, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not taken
Out.
out, but you encumber,
Covered,
yeah,
yeah.
it's covered, encumbered.
Encumbered.
yeah. So you'll have a pretty good idea.
I mean,
Uh,
after everything's encumbered, then it's whatever you got left after that's what you got to spend, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to figure out what things are more important than others, like,
That's
you
And
exactly.
know,
that's more of a city council thing than us. I mean,
not really.
we tell them what they can spend, or, well,
No, well,
You
it's,
know.
we're gonna have to work together, okay?
I don't see
And,
them
but
being.
we've gotta get them up here to get some input. We're flying
Yeah.
blind.
Well, see, but once you, like you say, you get this stuff fixed, then you come to them not with just a blank piece of paper, it's like, okay, we've spent this much already before you do anything, now let's talk from there.
Yeah. But I said, they're gonna have, be willing to come sit down with us.
Are they even showing they're willing?
Well, I talked to Bucky Monday night, told him, I said, hey, you need to be up here so you know, they're gonna discuss this template, but what I gave them the other night wasn't done. I mean, I gave it to them to show them basically what we had done and what we were working on, but we didn't, it wasn't finalized at all. The template wasn't, because I hadn't gone through the 25, 26 stuff yet. I didn't know what I was gonna find. So there wasn't any way I could find, but they've got it on their agenda to discuss it. That's the reason I asked you if you bring that thumb drive.
Oh, well, yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. But,
Well, you know, I can see if you gave this to them, they kind of glaze over.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, you gotta deal with who you're talking to, you
I know.
know? So, but you come back, it's like
but you
said.
gotta have the information or the data to
Well,
discuss.
wait a minute. You
Yeah.
take the same information,
Yeah.
well, you do the pre-stuff that you've already spent, and then this is about a third of the page.
Yeah,
Then it's easier for them not to glaze over so bad.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
It boils right down to it, they're gonna.
down to earth.
do
Did
it.
he go down on his price? Or is he even coming out here, is he just doing it desktop?
I'm just curious
They're-
myself.
They've
how
always
much
been
that
remote
artist
unless
is.
My
there's a specific issue to come out.
Well, reason I'm asking, because it used, last year, 200 a month, I know it's this year it's all 100.
You need to be willing to be put
Yes,
in the
because
work
it's $50
It's
per
gonna take
computer, and
to
I
make sure
only
that
have
you're
two computers, so
being
I
a
don't know
good
why
steward of the
Okay.
they had
taxpayers'
it
money.
before.
And
See,
that's just
okay.
what
Well, I
I
noticed at these
think.
meetings.
I
that they
noticed
have,
that.
But yeah,
When they
yeah,
get
I
down
had gotten
to,
that down shortly after I started.
Well, we had
approving
more computers.
bills,
They're not looking at
they're
them.
not looking at anything.
No,
They just,
they're not.
that's right, they're not.
And I'm sorry, I work for a public entity. I deal with it every day. You are putting yourself in a bad way when you're not asking to look at bills, looking to see who you're paying, and making sure that the amounts are
Yeah,
correct.
because all I'm hearing when I come up here to these meetings is they ask, make a motion to approve, pay the bills. And it's like, okay. It's
You
not,
know what?
And I'm a stickler about timesheets too. If you are an hourly person and you should have to submit a timesheet, it should be approved by the person that's in charge. And it should be signed off on every single month by the same person.
that person that's in charge, you mean the mayor?
Yes,
You see?
I do. That needs to happen because that protects the city, because you're dealing with FSLA, and that needs to happen, period.
Okay, so who makes that happen?
Well, you've got to
Council.
have
Well,
the
I'm just saying,
council
I'm just saying.
all on the same
Well, who
page.
makes that happen?
The council is
Okay.
responsible for
Yeah,
that.
they're responsible.
They are. Somebody has
I know.
to, it's lonely at the top.
So it sounds like you need to be talking to them, you're
Mhm.
talking to the choir here.
Well, I know.
Okay,
But I'm
so
just
really, so how do you
making
make
a
that
comment.
happen? I mean, I just really wanna know.
You have,
You have to get people on there, you have to get people on there
Right,
that will,
okay,
okay, all
yeah,
right. I make people all mad all the time while I was on there because I would question stuff,
yeah.
okay? I'd look at bills.
You don't ever
But-
want, and that's why right now we're
That's gotta be
setting,
frustrating because.
that's right now, why we're setting in with litigation pending
Uh-huh. About the,
about everything. There's
Okay.
two lawsuits, and if you hadn't looked at the
Oh.
agenda, there's two pending
I saw that,
lawsuits. And, you know, that's how you get yourself in trouble.
yeah, well, it's true,
And that's my opinion.
that's your opinion, that's good.
Yes, it is.
And I'm sure we all agree with you, but what can you do?
It-
What can you do?
Somebody at some point has to start doing what they need to do, period.
On the council.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there you go, all right.
That's the reason
I
when
know,
you
I
have
know.
elections, you need to get responsible people in there. Not if you like, or they're good old buddies or whatever.
As far as our responsibility, we need to come up with,
Yeah, we
Come up
will.
with Figures.
and it's up to them to abide by it.
Okay. May 14th, all right on the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, just move on
And
to
then
item.
we're gonna start filling it out much best we can, get all the easy stuff.
Okay,
first.
items to be considered, consider an act upon approving corrections on budget templates.
I'll make a motion to approve the corrections.
Okay?
Yeah, so,
Motion made by, moved to, by Melissa to do it, and second by Larry. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Consider an act upon approving a timeline for proposed budget and tax rate calendar. We probably need to get with them and get some input, hopefully. Maybe I can catch Bucky one day and sit down and get with him. He's off on Monday. I'll try to call him Monday and see if I can't collar him and say, hey, we've got to have some input and stuff, so we just wanna, move to get in contact with them and get some input or what. 'Cause we can't really approve anything right now, because we don't know.
that's out of our control.
Yeah, it's out of our control. So, postpone it to the next meeting. Somebody wanna move, just postpone that to the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
To postpone.
Lynn makes a motion to postpone it to the next meeting, second by Larry. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Consider an act upon approving the process of arriving at budget amounts, and I think we've pretty well decided to take the known expenditures. So if somebody wants to make that motion, or,
I'll make that motion.
okay.
I'll second it.
Second by Melissa. Those in favor? Okay. Anybody got any requests to put on the next agenda? Okay. Well, I guess we'll entertain adjourning and going home.
What time? It's
Time
seven-
at
it's
6
seven-
o'clock when we started.
It's 7:12.
7:12. Hour and 12 minutes.
And we need to make a motion and
Yeah. Somebody wanna make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Larry. Lynn, excuse me. I'll second it. Those in favor? Okay, we're out of here. Put my cheat sheet back in
oh,
there.
you need to sign this. I'll make copies of that.